Hey, it's character building.
This is our very first episode of It's Character Building, a show where we pick a theme.
And then we go away and build Pathfinder Second Edition characters based on that theme.
And then we come back and chat about them. I'm Ebony.
I'm Tyler.
And today we have with us the wonderful Cam.
Hello.
And the amazing Regan, who is going to be bringing our characters to life today with a little bit of drawing.
Now, a little bird told me that Cam, this is the very first Pathfinder character you've ever built.
Yes, I don't know whether it's a dark confession or not, but I have not built a Pathfinder character before. I've done a bit of 5e, I'm sorry, but I found this experience very different, and it is definitely the first time that I've been as involved in building a character.
How would you describe your character style?
Mechanics.
You want the numbers.
Mostly due to the amount of time I've spent really just making characters and looking through Pathfinder Second Edition. When I go like, oh, here's a cool concept, immediately I'm like, that feat would be amazing, and all this ancestry or that versatile heritage. And then I usually build from there out and be like, well, now that I have that basis, how can I realize this character a little bit more?
And my character creation is fairly similar to Tyler because I have a character idea and then I sit next to Tyler and he tells me which mechanics I can use to make it work.
Why don't we jump straight into it? Our theme for today is in honor of Realignment, our actual play campaign that has just recently come out. You can watch that here. And today we are building...
Today the theme is magical students. So the way this is going to work is every episode we're going to advance a level with our character creation. So we're starting out first level, thought it would be great to have some first level magical students. And so Cam, why don't you start us off? Talk us through how you came up with your character.
Yeah, I mean, it very much because I didn't understand a lot of how to build a character. I had to start with the nuts and bolts story of who would end up at a magical academy and why. And so take a journey with me, if you will. I'm
ready for clues. What am I drawing?
Imagine the bowels of like the poor part of a really big city. Lots and lots of people running around and a kind of run down but very full place called the Soup and Stew. All they do is soup and stew.
Sounds like my kind of shop.
And there it is owned by an old retired barbarian. She's missing an arm. She very much can't do any of the jobs around there because she's kind of not able to do much with the one arm she has left. But everything is being handled by the character that I've created called Elva, who's a very kind of androgynous looking, one really ripped arm.
From all the soup stirring.
Yeah.
Right.
But very gawky kind of teenage looking human apart from that.
Human?
Human, yeah,
All
very
right,
human looking.
let's go.
Very human looking.
Yeah,
Wait.
there's kind of some layers to that I wanted to play with because the thing that's happened for Elva is that the soup has started to do strange things.
Yeah, awesome.
So I started playing around like there's a background that's a cook, which seemed to flow pretty well. But when I was looking at ancestries, there was kind of a thing that I really tweaked for me, which was the fleshwarp.
I love fleshwarps. They're some of my favorites. Just like they give no actual like physical description. So it's just like fleshwarps are this wide variety.
Yeah, so that very much like I was like, okay, how can I do something which seems very generic but has a lot deeper layers to it?
Like soup.
Like soup. So to kind of round out that character, I guess for now, imagine that they've been sent because a lot of the patrons of the Soup and Stew started having very strange things happen to them, like developing dragon scales or getting thinner randomly or faster with drawbacks as well. And so the mother was kind of like, you need to go sort this out because you can't work here anymore until you do.
So does fleshwarp affect your appearance at all? You said you had one giant chunky arm.
Yeah. So the kind of extra layer to playing that character is they don't know, but their mother couldn't have kids and gave up an arm to grow them.
Wild.
Cool. That's such a fun
It's their mum's
backstory.
arm.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, as far as functionality, then there's a couple of different backgrounds for fleshwarp. Not backgrounds, sorry.
Heritages.
So, which one did you pick?
I picked shapewrought fleshwarp. A victim of fleshwarp, and you bear loose flesh, bony spurs, or features of inhuman creatures, but nevertheless, it's kind of a transformation into a strength. So I kind of took a lot of creative license with that. Of maybe that's where a lot of the gangliness comes from, is that they kind of didn't quite fit, but you can't really tell that when they're put together.
Yeah, they're a little bit too long.
Yeah.
Spooky.
And they just kind of embody your gawky teenage phase as well through that. But it does give you a resistance to mental damage, which I found really interesting, because I thought that, you know, being from the kind of poorer district and with what their mum's been through and growing up, they'd probably be mentally tough anyway.
So it fits like on top of the.
Yeah, so I guess to round it all out, to reveal everything, they are an alchemist.
Right.
And I found so much, like there's so much you can do with an alchemist. And I really enjoyed that, because it meant that maybe as the character grows, or as I played them more and I grew more with Pathfinder, there could be more things that I could find to do as it happened.
Totally. I love this idea as well, that they're like, you'd play them as human, right, from the get-go, because you wouldn't have any of that backstory. So it would just be like, oh, I'm just a very weird-looking human. And then as you slowly find out, like, the rest of the party is like, oh, we're basically traveling with a flesh golem. Like,
Surprise.
And so I'm guessing from your description that you took mutagenist. Cool. Yeah, really fun.
Yeah.
I love that. And with soup? Are you fighting with soup?
Yeah, that's kind of the... So I very much love the idea of like flinging soup at people from a distance, or giving people in your party different kinds of blends and concoctions of soups that do things.
That's so fun.
yeah, alchemist fire is just like a very spicy
Really
pepper
hot
soup.
soup.
Like a really hot pepper soup.
How would you carry your soup?
This is probably the to finish off the character, what I love the most.
Oh, lordy. Yep.
And I'm sorry for this. The magic item that I have chosen is the walking cauldron. I really love the idea that when they're sent to the academy, they just go with one of the cauldrons from the soup and stew, and it just gets up and walks with them.
Is it just like this little thing trotting along behind?
Yeah, kind of, but quite like it can hold 2 bulk of items. I don't actually know how big that is.
No one really does.
Yes.
A bulk is
The mystery of
an
bulk.
amount.
Give me a guess, like knee height, head height,
Like
somewhere
waist
in
height.
Waist,
Like
okay,
quite a sizable cauldron, partially because of the sheer amount of soup that they might need to fight. And the other thing being that you can take a class feat of an alchemical familiar. And I really loved the idea of them having this like lard creature, like an adipose.
like a little ball of rendered fat.
That's kind of wandering around with them and kind of soaking in the hot tub of stew all the time.
I hate that the most, because alchemical familiars can grow extra regents for your
Just
for your creature.
Oh, yeah.
One of the abilities you can
That
give the
flavour,
familiar.
though.
So it's just like you just like scrape off a bit.
unctuous.
Just like. ah.
Did you take any weapons?
I kind of wanted to flavor it a lot in the vein of it. So I took a mace, but I want that to be the ladle.
Yeah. I was going to say that, like, I would totally just be like, just skin a club or a mace as a ladle.
Yeah,
I
sick.
think you get martial proficiency, maybe. As
Simple
I think
weapon.
it's a simple weapon, so it'd be a club.
And it also kind of acts, I took it as like both the
love that idea.
mace and a sling. Because of the distance that they could get with some like stones, like hard things from the soup, and just yeet them at people.
That's amazing. You've seen those things
super
people throw their dog ball with?
Yeah.
It's basically that.
Incredible.
The
Incredible.
logistics of throwing a potion from a ladle.
Is it just loose? Is it just loose soup?
Loose splash. Let's go.
You take the far lob of feet so you can throw it, just fling that soup.
Fling that.
Honestly, if you did get bullied, it's not going to end well for them. It's like, hey, what's with the weird fat creature? And you're just like, soup!
And I think it's very much like the little adipose, like fat thing. Whenever he wants a different one, or they want a different one.
What's the fat creature's name?
That's a good question.
Put you on the spot.
I mean, you could go something as much as like lumpy.
Lumpy.
But I feel like if you want like if it was kind of like, oh, I need some acid, then Lumpy would like gather the bits of soup and prep them into the ladle, or
He's
like
just a little kitchen hand.
He is your quick alchemy function. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, fun. I don't know. Why don't I talk about who I built?
Sure.
A little bit. So I'd like you all to imagine, kind of weird kid, pretty quiet, little halfling, kind of curly, ginger hair. And that would be Halric Rudy Rudiger. Goes by Rudy. Pretty shy, pretty quiet, little halfling.
Good.
Yeah, small.
Small, very small. Small for a halfling.
I'd say small for a halfling, yeah. I'd say he's probably like...
Cauldron height.
Yeah, cauldron, like cauldron height.
Hypothetically speaking.
If he was standing next to a cauldron, yeah, he'd be about the same height. And Rudy is a druid. He's also a Hillock halfling, so they get boosts to medicine and like HP and stuff like that from that heritage. And he's also a leaf druid, which means that he gets a Leshy familiar as well, a bunch of familiars. So
A party with 3 familiars.
really.
You told me I would have to draw 3 characters.
It's 6 now.
Surprise!
So he has a little bud Leshy. So I thought, this quiet, kind of weird, kind of shy character who likes to tinker. He also has the tinker background, which gives you a boost to crafting. Wouldn't it be funny if he was the hookup of the school, being a druid and everything? And for that purpose, I also took Folksy Patter, which is a really fun halfling feat, ancestry feat that you can take, which means that you can deliver secret messages that disguised as like halfling rhymes and jokes and limericks and stuff. So I think you get 3-word secret messages, and people have to make a check to see if they can decipher it.
Can you give us an example of what that might be?
Oh no.
Nice.
I'll be down at the raft getting me chaps on with the laugh.
I'll be down at the raft getting me chaps on with a laugh. Oh, I'd like to buy off you or something. It's like, yeah, you just have to learn this list of...
You have to learn this list of limericks.
It's only 40 pages. It'll be fine.
Yeah, and I thought it was a really fun kind of play, because halflings are generally kind of seen as a bit mischievous, kind of tricksy, a little bit underhanded and kind of sneaky. So.
Putting the weed back into pipe weed.
Yeah, putting the weed back into pipe weed. Yeah, so that's Rudy. I gave him, the magical item I chose for him was Predictable Silver Piece, which is a really fun item, which just means it's just a plain silver piece, but if you rub one side of it, it will always land on face up on that side, therefore being predictable. So you can force chance and luck games a little bit like that, which I thought would be a handy toy for him.
Bit of a scoundrel's tool there.
Yeah.
So is Rudy, is he... Like, that would suggest that he's out to welch people sometimes.
Well, no, but I think he looks after his own.
So he only uses it in, like, opportune situations where it's not for his gain, but to...
It's not for... where he would be at a loss. I think it is out of the good of his heart. I've put a lot of stats into medicine, and I'll probably, if I was to keep building this character, would have that as a larger focus in his build, because I think it is, it's medicinal. So yeah, like pretty shy, quiet, would have grown up on like a little farm tinkering away. I like the idea of him building like weird little toys and whittling and that kind of being a hobby of his character.
Yeah, so super folksy, like
super folksy, like really down to earth, total hippie. Like,
What's this guy's style like?
Oh, bits. Lots of bits.
Bits and
pouches,
pieces. Yep, pouches.
Belts. A couple of tools. I actually gave him like a familiar satchel, which is an item you can take, which like gives your familiar a couple of like some protection. You can like hide them in there. Takes them like an action to get out, but and the reason I wanted to have a familiar, because I thought it'd be really cute, like him in the workshop building stuff, like probably give it manual dexterity and have it hand him tools and stuff like that. Yeah. You know, I don't think he's probably like 14, 15, like, you know, pretty young, but like...
A bit young to be dealing.
Hippie parents, man.
It's medicinal. Alignment is something we haven't talked about, the both of you. What alignment are your characters?
No, definitely chaotic good.
Chaotic good.
For sure, like, you know, it's definitely not lawful.
I was really wondering about this because I wasn't sure whether the being of the background that they were would make them neutral or good. But I thought maybe leaning towards the good and more of the lawful-ish kind may be true.
It's such an interesting thing because I've had many conversations with people about like, you know, lawful good meaning that you have to like obey the letter of the law. I'm like, no, it's if you have like a code of conduct. It's whether you live your life by a set of rules. I don't know. You guys can debate this in the comments. But that's how I always saw it. And then when I like say that to people, they're like, no, not lawful good. You're wrong. And I'm like, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Oh, okay, Rudy.
Okay, Rudy.
Rounding him out, I like the spells that I took for him are, a lot of them are like prestidigitation and produce flame. Definitely needs that. And then he gets Goodberry as a focus spell, which is another healing based one. You can charm a berry basically to heal. And then for his like bigger fames, I also took dancing lights, sort of psychotropic, like fun flavor, and Tanglefoot, and then for his like proper first level spells, those were all cantrips.
Turns out it's the like weed's no good. It's just it's just like, oh, isn't that good, man? Fairy fire dancing lights. Which would make him a true charlatan.
And then for his like first level spells, I did summon plant or fungus.
Right.
Is druid. Classic. And I also took noxious vapors, which I thought was rather fitting as well. Poison damage. Very good.
Pretty versatile character all around though. Got a bit of healing, got a bit of damage. Yeah. Got some like summoning as well. Which
and I also like, he's got skills in all of the like magic schools. So, you know, fairly magically adept, pretty good at crafting and identifying different magical objects. So kind of leaning in that. Yeah, kind of leaning in that sort of direction.
Nothing like a party getting a box full of magical items and cannot identify a single one of them.
Don't know what you're talking about, Tyler. That's never once happened.
Never. So I want you to imagine a small but very fine merchant's shop. They only sell the nicest of goods. And in a back room, there is a young gnome lad who's dressed very impressively, and he's sort of very haughty and uppity. Definitely thinks he's a bit well-to-do. The shop does very well, and for that reason, I've given him the merchant background. And he's sat there counting coins and tinkering with a little hand crossbow because our friend sitting here is Sedgwick Rasmussen, of course, the Rasmussen merchants.
Is he tall for a gnome? Short for a gnome?
I think he's just gnome for a gnome. It's like pretty standard.
Fairly well known.
He's still quite young. He'd only be, I don't know what young for a gnome is, but it's called he's teenage because he's still very immature, and he's gone to school. So
He's going to be about cauldron height as well.
about
Then.
cauldron height
Yep.
is fine, I think, for
New
a gnome.
measurement. 3 cauldrons high.
3 cauldrons high. The classic size disparity in parties of like one medium and everyone else is small.
We move slowly through the world.
Sedgwick is a gnome. For heritage, I took Wellspring gnome, which means that he's linked to like the primal source of, well, not primal, but like Fey magic, basically. Oh, cool. It is primal, actually. And for that, the reason for that is that Sedgwick is actually not a spellcasting class. He is a rogue. Cool. He's a rogue with one of my favorite builds that Pathfinder has, which is the Eldritch Trickster. So Eldritch Trickster is a rogue's racket. So there's several options that rogues can choose from. They all give different sort of gameplay. Eldritch Trickster gives you a free archetype at first level for a spellcasting class.
Oh, cool.
So Sedgwick is a smooth talker. He's good at diplomacy and all that. So I thought Sorcerer makes perfect sense. And I was like, well, Fey bloodline Sorcerer, because he's a Wellspring gnome anyway. So he's just been born with like an innate connection to the Fey world, but he's also a sneaky rogue boy. So pretty much the worst combination for everyone else. But yeah, I imagine him very haughty, and because he's still a rogue, he gives a bit more benefit in like melee combat. I think it's really nice at first level because then you can be like, well, how much magic do I want? Like, do I want him casting lots of magic?
Or do you just want a couple sick cantrips?
Or it's a couple sick cantrips. I've given him days as an innate. He gets an innate cantrip as a Wellspring gnome, so no matter what, he can just be like, a little bit of razzle dazzle.
Is that his voice?
No, all my voices are. I try and do a voice. It's always goblin. It's no goblin. A little bit of razzle dazzle. Hey guys, he sounds like a 40-year-old man.
I love that in the same way with Ebony. If anything ever goes wrong, it's just like, pretty lights. We good.
Foresee a lot of running away from things with this.
So
That's what Dex is for.
and that's what I was thinking. I think they really work as a party because none of them are, typical spellcasters.
Yeah.
They're all like drawing their magic from like different things. I don't even imagine there'd be a lot of druids, at most magic schools because they might be like, I'm sticking to the forest, man. So yeah, I feel like they definitely, as like the outsider, I think Sedgwick would come in and be like, I'm going to be the king of this school, and is just not. Because he's a little gnome boy and he's, got money and
tries to sit at the cool.
Is not, has innate power.
What are the cafeteria tables at a magical academy, right?
Pride depends on the academy, right? I love this idea of like a magical academy that's actually kind of shit.
This is the community college of magical academies.
The high school I went to was actually rated second worst in the state as far as funding goes. So I sort of imagine sort of that, but with magic, just like dilapidated classrooms.
Everyone that
and
didn't get into the academy in realignment came to this one.
Yeah. The B grade.
The second option.
What's the name of the realignment academy? Forge Light
No,
Academy.
what's the name of this one?
Yeah, well, for comparison, probably like Professor Digby's School of
Whimsy.
Professor Digby's School of Whimsy. And like they do magic, but also just like a lot of art classes.
Art therapy is the #1 rated class at the school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these
Regan
guys are
graduated from there.
I have a real degree. I don't use it, but it's there.
So yeah, and even at this very uncool school, these guys are the most uncool.
I can definitely see like a cafeteria situation where both of you end up at the same table and I'm like, well, here's some soup, I guess.
You're literally a food fight waiting to happen, right?
Yeah.
That's your whole character.
You're the guy you want on your team in a food fight, though.
Can I ask a little bit more detail about Tyler's character?
please.
'Cause so far you have a face and some shoes.
Oh, good.
You also had a companion. Do you have a magical item like everyone else does?
He does have a magical item. I really wish I'd known about the predictable silver piece because that would have been really nice. But I gave him an emergency disguise, which I don't know if it's just a mundane or it is a magical item, but it's basically, I think it's magical, but it's just an instant disguise. Oh, cool. And it has a really cool trait to it, which is that it turns out a little bit shoddy.
It's a bit shit.
So you actually take a -2 to the deception roll to disguise yourself, but you can do it instantly. So you could duck around a corner and just be like, poof.
Is it just one of those like glasses with the nose and the eye?
Instant disguise.
Just that.
Oh, who is this? Don't you put... Oh, dear, it's fine. Yeah, and he's got a short sword and a hand crossbow.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot to say my weapon is shears.
Oh, nice.
Big garden shears.
Oh,
yeah.
That's horrifying. And then I go up to the monster and I cut its arm off. What?
You see Cam in the corner, like, shielding his good arm.
It's good arm.
Cradling my ladle.
Cradling the ladle is a good sentence.
Something I thought of as well was using the pot lid as a shield when combat arises to just kind of round it out.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, that's
sword
fun.
and
Yeah.
shield.
I've got a shield as well, just a little wooden one. Like,
Yeah, cool.
shields are good.
That's versatile combat. I think the only other cool thing, mechanics-wise, about Sedgwick Rasmussen is the gnome ancestry feat at first level is called Inventive Offensive, which basically just means you can jury-rig your weapons to give them traits. So traits are like tagged weapons have that give you a bonus. If it's got the trip trait, it means it's going to be easier to trip with your weapon.
Oh, like finesse and stuff.
And so you can actually add deadly d6, disarm, non-lethal, shove, trip, versatile, bludgeoning, versatile, piercing, or versatile slashing damage to whatever weapon you have, which is like crazy.
Yeah.
Because you could, to a melee weapon you wield.
I mean, that's great because I've definitely been in situations where like, haha, fight the monster. And it's like, it appears to do nothing. And you're like, motherfucker, curse you.
Like, I love how versatile, like, my experience of rogues so far in, like, this has been very linear. Like, I hide, I sneak attack, I hide, I sneak attack. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's like, do you wield one dagger or two?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Always two.
That's why it's definitely one of my favorite ones is like, I love this idea of a rogue that really leans into the magical arts to get shit done.
At the end of your assembly, when they are giving awards out to literally every student, what is your outstanding characteristic? What do you get your award for?
Oh. I mean, a whole year's passed. There's so much has happened. We've grown so much as people.
Everyone still hates us.
Very much so.
It's the friends you made along the way, though.
I think Sedgwick would get like excellence in business practices or like something really bizarre that doesn't relate anything to his schoolwork, but it's just like, and even the teachers are like, what does this mean? But that's just what he's awarded. It's just
It's like most likely to win at Wall Street,
Yeah.
whatever the equivalent is.
I think Rudy would get like most likely to help someone in need. And the teachers are like, that's so nice.
And everyone else is like, nerd.
No, everyone else is like, yeah, you would.
Can confirm.
Well, this is really hard. I think maybe it might be something really naff and terrible, like Most Improved.
Yeah. Oh.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much for coming and being on our very first episode. Tune in next time where we will be building level 2 underlanes.
Looking forward to that one.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for
Catch you
tuning
next time.
in.
See ya.
Cheers. Thank you for joining us for this episode of It's Character Building.
Comment below what you would have built for this theme, and make sure to subscribe if you want to see some more.
And don't forget to join us on our Discord where you can discuss character builds all of your own. We'll see you next time.
Bye.